Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another weekend of racing here at Apollo Racing Club. And actually, hold on, I'm way too used to my routine here. We're not racing on weekends anymore. I swear I did not plan that. No, we have moved our primary ACC league to Monday nights, and we kind of threw two of them together. We have our Thursday nights, what was formerly our Thursday nights, where we kind of had GT4s or any of the typically less selected cars, and then we had the GT3 nights on Saturdays. Well, we've taken both of them and put them together, so we are going to be starting a mixed class series here of GT3 cars and BMW M2s, and we're going to be starting at the new track in the recent DLC, Valencia. Joining me in the commentator booth, as always, is going to be Tom Castellani. Tom, how you doing tonight?
Doing great. Obviously looking forward to the new season. Delighted to be here. Excited to see how the multi-class and mixture of GT3s and M2s go. And yeah, I think it's going to be a great race today.
I do too. So let's go ahead and get ourselves over trackside. We're just now getting into qualifying, and it looks like Alex Arduin is going to be the first one to start a hot lap here. And we're going to be wanting to keep an eye on Alex tonight. He is, during practice, he proved to be very, very quick. So it'll be interesting to see if he's able to bring that pace during qualifying. He was, if I remember correctly, a little over 2 seconds faster than the next car. So we'll see what he's going to pull out tonight. Another car we're going to want to keep our eyes on as far as quick drivers go, Anthony Jones. We were talking to him a little bit during the practice session, and he told us he only started practicing after about a 6-month hiatus 3 days ago. So we're going to see how he does. He was looking in good form during practice. Again, now his quality, we'll see if he can actually link it all up and get a good time going. I have no doubt. We'll see. We've got a couple of other new, new to me names just because we're throwing nights together here, but nice full field. Looks like how many cars we at? 25 cars altogether, and it's pretty much an even split between the GT3s and the M2s. We see the GT3s doing some donuts in the pit lane there. Really careful not to get yourself disqualified, please.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's going to be a busy track in qualifying, seeing as all of the M2s, well, not the M2s and the GT3s aren't out together, but it's everyone's going to be trying to get their quali lap in time. You mentioned Anthony Jones. Yeah, he's just one of those very talented, naturally talented drivers. We've got Liam McNeil back, Adam Thompson and James Williamson are actually the commentators for our iRacing series, so you can see them on track now as opposed to in the booth.
And that's, I mean, honestly, as a commentator too, that's really exciting, is when you get to race sometime that you don't generally get to. It's kind of fun to get your moment in the spotlight. And actually, as I say that, someone who's going to be in the spotlight quite a bit tonight, I think, Alex Arduin, crosses the line with a 145.4, 0.3 faster than his practice pace. So he was probably practicing on a full fuel load. But hold on a second. Anthony Jones across the line with 2 purple sectors with a 145.5, just 1/10 off of him. Sam Carsala, the next car, across the line with a 147.6, which is where I think we're going to start to see the rest of the pack develop behind. What monumental times out of these two fast drivers, right out of the gates, no less.
Yeah, going very quick, those guys, and I mean, it's the first time at Valencia here, and you can see the drivers really kind of trying to find the very edge of track limits. You can not that far out wide. That green car was completing their lap, but yeah, you can go quite out wide on the green, and you can take quite a lot of inside curb, but not at all corners. There are a couple that can get you, and there are some kind of camouflaged sausage curbs here. They've been painted green as opposed to bright red, so if you clobber one of those, you're probably heading into the scenery.
Yep, and we have seen a couple of cars just hit that curb just wrong, and it is quite the spectacle to see a car lose that much control in such a short amount of time. But hopefully everybody's gotten that out of their system during practice, and we won't have too many catastrophes during the actual race. Got 4.5 minutes left of qualifying for the BMWs. And just to give you guys a kind of an eyeball of how the times are looking, here's the session best, personal best, excuse me, of each of the drivers so far. So again, we've got Alex Ardoin and Anthony Jones, as well as Matt Damon, making a celebrity appearance here, clocking in with a couple of 1:45s, which are very, very fast times. Sam Carasala is going to be hanging out in 4th place right now with a 1:47.432. Liam McNeil right behind him with a, Melon Pitch right behind him as he crosses the line with a new personal best. It's going to be a 1:47.572, bumping Liam McNeil down into 6th place with a 1:47.772, just 0.2 off. Not too much more improvement needed to get that position back from Melon Pitch. James Williamson with a 1:48.785. Nathaniel Stewart with a 1:48.792. Micah Locke in 9th place with a 1:58.280. And that's looking like it's going to be the leaderboard. Actually, as I say that, Liam McNeil finds almost a half second in one corner and loses it right back, but still a half second up on his personal best.
Simultaneously, Micah just moved up to 5th place there. I could see that they were up, 11 seconds in the delta. Obviously hadn't been able to put together a lap up until that point. Similarly, Cody Barrett, Adam Thompson, and Craig R probably just have been flirting with track limits quite a lot and haven't been able to put a full lap together. They do have 13 minutes, so I mean, it is a decent amount of time. Oh, sorry. Well, they've got 3 minutes until GT3 go out.
Correct.
So they don't have that much.
No, they are pretty quickly running out, especially considering the fast lap times are over 1.5 minutes.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see if something similar happens with any of the GT3 cars. They could end up mired behind some of the M2s. So something to watch out for there as the car of Liam McNeil gets bumping over the curbs.
Nice
so
run.
If you haven't
Go ahead.
driven the M2s, they are they're interesting to say the least. Obviously, not tons of power compared to a GT3, more than your average road car, and the gearing is definitely an important part of trying to get a handle on these cars. So,
for real,
it's you kind of end up in the same gear quite a lot, and have to be careful about either shifting too far up or down. That's the challenge that stands ahead of these drivers.
Yep, and having done a series in the M2, the gearbox is probably the trickiest bit to get used to, at least if you've never driven the M4 GT4, because it has very, very similar gearbox where first gear doesn't exist. Then you pretty much only use 2, 3, 4, sometimes 5, and you really never get up into 6th gear. And so it presents kind of an interesting puzzle for the driver, just because you don't have as many gear shifts in between corners, but you really got to be intentional with your speeds and what of the 3 gears you're going to use. Kind of makes that car pretty fun to drive. The other thing that drivers will notice driving the M2 if they're coming off of a GT3 especially, is the lack of brakes. This thing does not like to stop. And it's even worse because of how light it is. The brakes like to lock up too, so you have to really be careful with the modulation of your brake pedal in order to get the most out of them, which can be a little bit of a challenge for newer drivers. Other than that though, the M2 is really, really fun to drive. I think one of the best things about it is that it isn't really quick. We don't really get to showcase it very much during qualifying, but when it comes race time, we'll really start to see those cars battle with one another. And we just had a very interesting announcement there with Anthony Jones getting fastest lap of the race, because what's actually happened here is he has tied Alex Ardoin. Oh, wait, no, my UI is wrong. What's going on here? Oh, no, it's showing last lap, not best lap. Hold on, streamer knows what he's doing. I promise. Let's go fastest lap. There we go.
Yeah.
So we've got a tied pole as qualifying comes to an end. That was the last second of qualifying, and they are going to tie for first place. Wow.
That is stunning. As we're just looking at that graphic, the It seemed like the first sector, if Anthony had got through the first sector a bit quicker, then he might have had an edge there, but it's a trade-off, and like the exact same time.
James Williamson does cross the line with that personal best. Keeps him in 8th place with a 148.127. We've also got Cody Barrett out on the track, about a half second up, and it's kind of getting away from him under the brakes. Let's see if he gets it back on the exit here. There we go. It's coming back now. Now up to 7 tenths, 8 tenths, and counting. We might see 9 before the next corner. Let's see. No, but he is... Go ahead.
Nathaniel Stewart might be able to make a position there if they're able to keep that rolling. So it's 0.7 and oh, there it goes. That's what I was talking about. Just too much curb and it will spit you out the other side.
Unfortunate, but he will be starting. Let's see if Cody Barrett brings this across the line. Whoa, what happened? Did it not give him the lap time? Is that what I just saw? That was weird.
Oh, it's like, yeah, perhaps that invalidated somewhere that we didn't see. Now already we've got the GT3s on track, so as for M2s, all drivers have their times in. And Xu Chen is honestly the driver to watch here in terms of taking pole. Xu was fastest in practice and has been he's returning, having been off for a little bit from the button end of last season, but very fast driver. And I do know that Matt Byrne, who's a previous title winner and contender, will be with us from next round as well. So those two, Xu and Matt Byrne, we've seen battling quite a lot. We've got Eric Gottsacker back with us. Lots of drivers, to be honest.
Yeah, it does seem to have brought back a lot of older names here at Apollo Racing Club, and honestly, I'm all for it. It's good to see everybody getting back on the track.
Yeah, Justin Iceton has been a mainstay. Brian Katz, Robert Nobles is a new name. Jacob Clemens was with us for a while last season. Louis Benora as well. Matthias Alves, I believe, has not been with us for a little while and is back racing again. Alexander Barnes, Jan Stam, Phil Brown, and Jack Linder. So, welcome all.
All right, and Xu Chen going to set the first qualifying lap for the GT3s with a absolutely blistering 131.677. In second place, Louis Benora across the line with a 132.435. Justin Easton with a 133.497. Phil Brown just behind him with a 134.515. Let's see, it looks like, yep, there we go. Matheus Alves crossing the line with a 132.5. Just a hair off of Louis Benora in third place. Jack Linder across the line as well with a 136.595 and is bumped down to 7th by Eric Gottsacker, who comes in with a 134.485.
Yeah, so it seems like the GT3 is actually having less trouble in terms of getting times in. Still Carter, Bennett, Katz, Nobles, Clemens, and Barnes yet to get ahead of the M2s, but all of those drivers, other than Barnes, not sure if Barnes, I don't see his delta changing, but it doesn't show him as being in the pits, so not sure what's going on there.
Yeah. We'll take a look in a second here. Things getting a little... Ooh, Xu Chen improving on his time with a 131.17. Just moving that goalpost just a little bit farther away from the rest of the field. I was watching these two because I thought they might run into each other, but Jack Linder actually pulling a pretty quick lap out of this, up just a second. There we go, now 1 second up, 1.1. as he's coming around up into the final corner. 1.2, 1.3 seconds up. He's continuing to find time. And now across the line. And you'll set a 135.232, and good thing he did, because Robert Nobles just behind him sets a 135.277, 4/100ths of a second slower. Ooh, Brian Catt's got a little bit of company here.
A cool looking Porsche there, and something to note is that, is that the recent update had many things, including new cars, the new Ferrari, the new Porsche, and Lamborghini, but also there was quite a big tire update, so the car's handling quite differently now than they did.
Oh, interesting. I'm sorry, I just got an update from Race Control. It looks like there was an issue with the server settings, and there's not going to be a mandatory pit stop during the race.
Well, that is interesting. I'm not sure whether a lot of the drivers will know that, or if they'll notice, if it'll be under discussion in the voice chat between drivers. No pit wall here. It's kind of direct. I've often thought it would be interesting if that happened in real racing, if you could just talk to other drivers, but also chaotic. Yeah, it'll be. I mean, probably people aren't going to want to run with a full tank for the whole race of fuel, and it's advantageous to be able to change tires, but these tires do last pretty well, so
the GT3s would have no problem with the right driver. I don't know about the M2s though.
Yeah, I mean, in an endurance race, you would expect an hour stint, no problem. So, it's not unusual, let's say.
Sure.
But yeah, with the tire update, I mean, a lot more feedback coming through the wheel. The car's just handling differently in general in terms of the suspension travel. It's sort of a bit shorter, and what else? I mean, for me, with the Honda, I found that it was kind of in heavy braking zones, as we see a Honda actually just rejoining there. The car was unstable in a way that was actually very satisfying. It felt a lot more genuine, where the rear would get light and the car would start snaking, and I mean that's part of why we enjoy racing in ACC, is because of that experience and that kind of visceral reality that it gives you.
That's one of the reasons why I choose to drive it in VR, even though it looks like I'm watching a slideshow a lot of the times. It just the work that the devs of the game put into making the experience of driving a car really communicate through the wheel is second to none. Actually, I don't want to glance past this. Robert Noble's 2.2 seconds up on his previous best nets him, 6 positions from 13th up to 7th with less than a minute on the clock.
Yeah, it's a big jump for Nobles, so getting inside of the top 10. A few drivers sitting in the pits now. Maybe they feel as though they've kind of bagged the lap that they had available to them, as we see Justin Eisen getting all out of shape. He caught it. Catches it. Well, I mean, the lap's invalid, but he lives on in his hearts.
Oh my God.
In our hearts, sorry.
I'm sorry, but Shu Chen just said a 1:30.
Oh, he's just lapping for fun now.
That is a 1:30.9. That's absolutely insane. Yeah, we got Anthony in the chat, tied for pole. I'll take it. We saw. No, that was... I almost couldn't believe it, crossing the line as the timer crosses to 0.
Might see a couple of last-minute improvements. Justin Eiston's going for it again after that moment. It's just a tenth or two ahead of his current best time. If you weren't aware, the splits that we see are versus the driver's own time. That's not versus pole.
Correct.
So this could, depending how far back Justin Eiston is from Louis Benora, this could bag him an extra position up to third.
There's the PBs right there. So yeah, this would put him in third place.
So with the clock having run down, this is the last possible moment that Justin Eiston has, and he's pushing it on that curb again, bounces through. I think he's kept the lap valid, points 2 still. Up to point 3. You can just get some good drive out of this final corner. It's fading.
Oh, it's gonna be close, Tom.
Oh,
And he gets
there
it! Let's go!
Nice one.
By 5/1000ths of a second. Eiston clinches third place after the clock has lapsed. That is absolutely insane.
You love to see it.
Oh my goodness. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, how about that for a qualifying session? We've got tied pole for the GT, or not the GT4s, excuse me, the M2 class. And then we've got third place, boxing out fourth place by 5/1000ths of a second, and Shu Chen with an absolutely mind-numbingly fast 1 minute and 30-second lap time. That was a qualifying session, ladies and gentlemen. But real quick, let's go ahead and just do our walk of the grid here. Let's go ahead and we're going to start with Shu Chen qualifying in first place in the Lamborghini, returning after a off season, if I remember correctly, or at least having not driven since the previous one, but qualifying in first place. In second place, just behind him, Mateus Alves, another ARC regular here. In third place, Louis Benora, returning name, driving the Lamborghini today. Justin Eiston. Wait, did it not count it? Wasn't he in third place?
I think it might have happened so late that it skipped a car there.
It must have.
Yeah,
so, okay.
Eiston in third and Benora in fourth, yes.
Yeah, Jacob Clemens in fifth. Carter Bennett going to be in sixth place. Robert Nobles going to be in seventh place. Alexander Barnes just behind him, going to be qualifying in eighth place.
No, it's mixed up.
It is mixed up. It's definitely mixed up. Hold on. Yeah, it's automatically doing it wrong. So excuse me, ladies and gentlemen. So in third place is indeed Eiston. That's what I get for trusting the computer. And then Louis Benora in fourth place, Carter Bennett, Alexander Barnes, Robert Noble in seventh place, Jan Stam in eighth place, Philip Brown in ninth place, and to round out the top 10, since I'm running out of time here, is going to be Jacob Clemens. Let's go to the M2s here. Alex Ardoin in first place, Anthony Jones also kind of in first place, Matt Damon in third place, Sam Carasala qualified in P4, Liam McNeil in P5, Michael Locke in P6, Melon Pitch in P7, James Williamson in P8, Nathaniel Stewart in P9, and Cody Barrett to round out the top 10 of the M2s. And it looks like we're just going to be doing the short last corner formation lap here. So we're actually going to have a race on our hands really quick here. Thank you, everybody who's tuned in up to this point. And we will have a race on our hands here shortly. We're now just waiting for the green flag to wave. And we will kick off race 1 here at Apollo Racing Club to kind of christen the first multi-class Monday night series. But it looks like a great start for Shu Chen, getting out in front of the pack without very much of an issue, but he's going to have a Ferrari on the inside, but he gets there first. Mateus Alves is going to be right behind him, following as Louis Benora still Eiston has fallen back a position. Louis Benora, it looks like he gets a good start on him, and he's going to have to fight his way back up to third place. Let's check in on the M2s. Does look like Alex Ardoin has gotten away a little bit. Anthony Jones under some fire there by Matt Damon just behind him. Some of the field still kind of too wide back here for the M2s. And there we can see Michael Locke trying to catch up to Liam McNeil, but let's keep an eye on our race leaders up here because they are very close between Louis Benora and Mateus Alves in second place.
It seems as though we have a car stopped at the back. That Sam Carasala has had an incident in the M2 field.
Looks like he's got it moving it again.
the top 3 M2s are absolutely storming away from the field there. But they're kind of taking, it's a pack of 3 that are leading away. So Alex Ardoin, if Jones has anything to say about it, this won't be signed, sealed, and delivered for him.
Well, Mellon Pitch really starting to apply some pressure to Liam McNeil here, although it looks like Liam McNeil might get a little bit of relief on the exit of that corner, but Mellon Pitch is getting the draft down the straight into the next corner. And one thing these M2s can do that the GT3s cannot, and you can see it there as Cody Barrett just skips that corner that we saw spin iced in, is they can really abuse the curbing here to maximize just how fast they're getting through things. But let's take a look at this. We've got a 2 wide going into turn 1 between Jan Stam and Jack Linderer. Oh, and Jack just barely wrestling the Ferrari back onto the track and under control. We saw the back end there get a little bit loose, but Jan Stam gonna stay out in front and keep his nose in. Just behind him, Jacob Plemons and Pat Brown are going at it. We see still 2 wide now coming into turn 4. And just real quick, because I see it in the chat, looks like I'm just gonna call you Coach. Subscribed with Prime, it's gonna be your 2nd month. Thank you very much, super appreciate that.
Just noticing Adam Thompson off the back of the field again in the M2s with tremendous damage to the front end of that car. Now, the M2s aren't as affected by damage as GT3, but I mean, it's looking pretty beat up on the front.
Yeah, that is not something you want to see.
So he has reached a wall. So we'll see if Adam is able to continue with that, or if he takes an early pit stop. Again, there's a chance that the drivers will be waiting for that window to open, but Adam could come in right now if he wanted to.
True. Yeah, there's no pit window here, so really it's up to him to decide his fate on that one.
Like Michael Locke making a place up ahead of James Williamson.
We're going to jump forward to the GT3 field there. As we can see, Carter Bennett runs it out wide at the exit of turn 1, but gets it back over onto the track. Right behind him, Alexander Barnes and Robert Nobles are duking it out for 5th and 6th place. Oh, and it really looks like he wants to get around him here.
Yeah, Bennett going
a
for
bit of a
really
spin there.
defensive line.
Yeah, really tried to close it down, went a little too far inside and lost the back end there. Alexander Barnes, I think, dips on the brakes there to avoid a bigger collision. Otherwise, that pass was his. Oh, and hold on. Look at this, folks. We see Anthony Jones has just gotten around Alex Ardoin, as has Matt Damon. Hold on, I'm gonna chance a replay here just so we can get a look at that. I'm gonna give it, here we go. So they are side by side down the straight, it looks. Ooh, just about. So Anthony Jones comes to the inside early on the brakes and lines up just a beautiful sweep through turn 1, and that's what gives him the momentum to beat him to the next corner. We see Matt Damon on the inside trying to find his way to poke his nose in, and he finds it there and leaves Alex Ardoin on the outside and leaves Anthony Jones to run away with it. That's how it's done, ladies and gentlemen.
See Robert Nobles dropping down the timing board with a yellow flag. It's as though he's been able to recover it, but that could have been an off track there. But yeah, it really goes to show how important momentum is, and Noble's coming into the pits now, so perhaps he did find a barrier or something there. It's so important to keep momentum in the M2s as we see a car going really wide, because it was just like Ardoin was just slightly out, and that was enough. You know, he wasn't massively offline or anything, but just that little loss of momentum gave Jones and Matt Damon a chance to get in underneath.
Let's see, we've got a couple of other... Okay, that's Robert Nobles dropping down because the M2s have caught up to him now. But let's take a look at the battle between Alex Ardoin and Matt Damon here, because it is starting to get very close. Doesn't look like Anthony Jones really able to pull too big of a gap to Alex Ardoin, although I will say it is a little bit bigger than it was last time I checked. Our race leader's really going at it. Let's take a look over at Michael Locke here as he goes for a move on the inside of turn 2, similar to what we saw there from Anthony Jones a couple laps ago. And James Williamson now on the outside left to deal with it. Nathaniel Stewart right behind them. And it looks like he's trying to get his nose in. The number 22 car on the inside, though, going to hold off the 69 BMW, although he's trying to go the long way around. They are still side by side coming into the next corner. Nathaniel Stewart still just behind them, keeping the pressure up, and it looks like a better line from the inside car, Michael Locke. They are going to stay too wide through the straight, although it looks like he's gotten out in front of him. And that's going to be the move done by Michael Locke, and now our eyes are going to be on James Williamson and Nathaniel Stewart.
Yeah, James really trying to stick to the optimal line there. He was able to stay alongside Micah for a very long time because he was going out on the curbs, whereas Micah was having to cut it real tight. James just maintaining the position now. Let's see if he can catch up a little bit to Micah, seeing as clearly he has those two have exchanged places a couple times, and you know, all it takes is one slight error that Micah could be in the grips of James again.
We'll check back in with them in a little bit. We've got another battle starting to wage here between Carter Bennett and Alexander Barnes, and just behind them, Jacob Clemens and Jack Linderer. What a time to change the camera, as it looks like the Honda goes out wide. He's also going to get overtaken by a Porsche. Ooh, an unfortunate corner there for Jacob Clemens, but the other two, ooh, as he goes for a big slide and gets it back on the track and under control. We've also got the battle for second place getting ready to wage on.
Right in the exhaust pipe of the Ferrari there is the car of Louis Venora.
Perhaps even just a little bit too close there, as we could see him understeer off of turn 1.
Yeah, couldn't get underneath, and then he had to go be a bit more cautious heading into turn 1.
Ooh, we've got a yellow flag for Jacob Clemens. Is going to leave it parked and has it towed back to the pits.
Yeah, he looked all out of shape there, so I don't know what happened that brought that about. He was definitely dropping down. Potentially some technical issues. See Mellon Pitch getting it. The curb just right there. You saw the car just lift up, the suspension decompress, and then sit back down. It's going to tuck in behind Liam McNeil.
Yep, sorry, I'm going to pull that away right as they were getting to it, because it looked like Brian Katz was getting ready to make a move here on Eric Gottsacker.
This is our perpetual problem now, is that it's just, you don't know where to look. There's always so much action.
We have just...
Bennett as well, very close.
Sorry, that I was going to say, that overtake there on Adam Thompson marks an important stage of this race beginning, which is where the GT3s are now going to have to start weaving through these battles of M2s.
Yeah, words out of my mouth. I mean, I can see Xu Chen now just making his way on the track map through all of the M2s.
While that's going on here, we've got a battle between Mellon Pitch and Liam McNeil that has rekindled itself, and they have been going side by side now for about 3 corners. Mellon Pitch is going to try the outside line and carry that speed through, but Liam McNeil going to be able to fend off the attack here coming through the hairpin, and it looks like Xu Chen has caught up to them to mix things up just a little bit, although, ooh, that's a really tight spot of track to have caught those cars, but he negotiates that, looks like pretty much with no problem.
The speed differential between these cars really, I feel, is quite perfect. It does almost emulate the LMP1 versus GT car differential that we see as Carter Bennett is about to be overtaken by Alexander Barnes. But Alexander has to back out. Now they're on the back of an M2. And that's Sam Carousel in front of them, I believe.
Yep.
So they are right mid-corner. That's a terrible spot to catch up. And there in Godsacker. Sorry, no, Jan Stam is going to take advantage and perhaps take 2 in 1 as a result of that. But Carter's turning down to the apex, and I had to almost hold my breath for a second there. This is getting very tight. I mean, it almost impossible to keep track of. And Stam now made a big move across the track, and unfortunately I think that was just a bit too much. Took both of them into the pit wall. That was Stam and Alexander Barnes.
Oh, we've got another big yellow flag over here. Uh-oh. And we may have had an incident between a passing GT3 and an M2 there.
That's definitely what it looked like. We've got cars all over the place now, and this is James Williamson off track, 2 Ferraris colliding. Okay, if we can recompose, we've now got Phil Brown in 6th place, Alexander Barnes in 7th, and Jack Linder in 8th. I think the big winners in this race are going to be the ones that have the most patience.
For sure, it's all. I had hopes it wouldn't be, but it does seem like this is going to turn into a war of attrition. Oh, and that Porsche just gets caught so unlucky on that line and has to sit behind the M2 as the Ferrari of Jack Linder pulls away from him.
Indeed,
Woo.
yeah.
Oh my goodness, that was tight.
Just going to and shooting the gap there. It's Jan Stam. So Jan does, he wants to stay on the back of Jack Linder, but he has to know that Jack will have to slow down for the M2 field as well. So, it's a long race. We're only 13 minutes into this race. So if I have any breath or brain cells at the end, Jan Stam now going up the inside of turn 1, and that's quite a clean move. He made it by the exit, but now has to get past Liam McNeil. Both of those M2s going wide to allow the GT3s through. Micah Locke has made a place on Cody Barrett in the M2 field, but that's going to get progressively more difficult to know what's going on.
Yeah, this battle between Liam McNeil and Melon Pitch been going on pretty much this entire race, with the two of them trading positions a couple of times now. Right now, Melon Pitch back out in front of it, and Liam McNeil is right behind him. Let's take a look.
Sam Carousel are benefiting from just sticking in after his first lap issue. He's now behind James Williamson, so starting to creep back in. And if any other drivers have problems throughout the race, as we see the 402 car of Cody Barrett, along with I believe a GT3. Yeah, that's
Robert Nobles.
And again, difficulty getting through the M2 field. So this is, I think, this is a real test as the first race running this series for the drivers, because by midway through the season they'll need to have figured out how to manage making these passes and getting everything done cleanly. So yeah, a learning process.
Sorry, I know I'm bouncing us between two battles here, but we got two very close battles here. This one with Sam Carousel and James Williamson into turn 1. It looks like they can take it. I love the M2s. They're just taking everything too wide. It's beautiful. Sam Carousel going to try on the outside. James Williamson to the inside, but Sam carries a bit more speed as he loses the back end. That's going to let James Williamson back in, but not close enough. And Sam Carousel going to get the move done. God, it is so fun watching these things drive. You just do whatever you want in them.
The next battle that I was watching was Brian Katz on Eric Gutsacker, but it seems like Eric is just starting to gap Brian a tiny bit. That's Jan Stam,
and he collects Jack
I
Linder
think he was
there.
on the brakes, but it's just, yeah, that was very unfortunate. The Ferrari trying to get back on, and we've got to be careful with the rejoins, guys. Brian Katz and Eric Gutsacker are actually the beneficiaries of that incident.
Ooh,
and got Liam McNeil, careful, Liam. Okay.
I'm gonna see if I can get this quick replay, because there was an accident that we missed. Oh, it's just highlighting this one, excuse me. So we're gonna get a little replay of whatever prompted this. How long is this?
Yeah.
Thing? Okay, there's only 8 seconds left.
This is either the M2 or, yeah, I was wondering if it was just going to be the curb, but it's, I don't know, I mean, it's such a flowing section, you need to try and maintain your speed up the hill there. You can't really see it on camera, but it is uphill, and so all the more reason to try to keep that momentum, that you just can't chuck it down the inside at the last moment. The stewards, well, you know, rest their souls. They're going to have a very interesting time after this race.
Yeah, that they are. And knowing some of the stewards, they were chatting about not being super stoked for this first race. As we see Brian Katz gets off the line, you can see now just how difficult it can be to get back on it, as he has to watch the other cars pull away from him. And something I want to point out here, Anthony Jones is almost 5 seconds up on second place.
Wow. There you go. He's getting all his practice done in the race. It's a tried and true strategy.
While we're highlighting this, excuse me, Shu Chen 13.5 seconds in front of second place.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, aliens, ladies and gentlemen.
And you know, it must be said he's doing a really good job, as we see Phil Brown off track now.
Yeah, it looks like Alexander Barnes is going to be the one who's wrapped up in that. I'm going to try the replay again. Here we go. Hey, we're actually going to get to see it this time. All right, it's Alexander Barnes behind, following in. That Porsche is going to try and get around an M2. Oh, and he loses the back end. Yeah, and gets collected.
Just unfortunate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Adam Thompson, we can see, is happily riding around with that damage, but now we've got Jack Linder really breathing the fumes of Eric Gutsacker in front, getting underneath in the final, oh, not the final turn, I'm sorry, misread that, but obviously wasn't able to carry the speed this time. Almost looked like Eric let him have it there. Eric perhaps taking the long view here. I mean, when I look over at the track map here, it's everything. The fields are still mixed together, but I think we've kind of got through the peak chaos.
Yeah.
I do see some cars still having to make some passes.
I gotta say though, a substantial part of the grid is still pretty much battling for position. We've got one 4-car battle here. We've got a 3-car battle for third place. That's 2, 3, and 4 right there, all on screen. And granted, the BMWs have spaced out just a little bit since the beginning of the race. That was to be expected, but the GT3s are really doing a great job of keeping up with one another.
Absolutely, yeah. No, it's pretty tight between second, third, and fourth. So, yeah, the cars of Benora, Alves, and Ice Tin just sticking together.
Oh, and we've got a change in the battle for second place there. Mateus Alves moves up and Lloyd Benora drops down 2 spots.
And since this is the first time we're racing Valencia, I think this is just a feature of this track that you have to keep the flow, otherwise you know, things can change very quickly. But what that means is that we get people chopping and changing quite a lot as James Williamson tries to sort of drop in and then thinks better of it, lets the car have just a nice tint through of Benora now.
Yep.
Ryan Katz, it looks like, has made a position on Jan Stam, but simultaneously it seemed as though there might have been an incident between them which prompted that. Robert Nobles.
It does appear, though, I have a incident that recorded there.
Right.
If you'd like to take a look at it. Let's see what happens here, though, because he is catching right back up.
It's the Porsche and Porsche action as
no!
it was, I think that big hit into the wall for both those cars, both the hoods up. I think that was just unfortunate. The Cats,
Yeah,
I don't know if he was trying to bring it in tight. It wasn't on the gas. I think he was going defensive, and that was a pretty heavy move because it didn't look like the rear tires were lighting up. But the result is that Jan Stam has been towed back to the pits, and Brian Katz, I think, is trying to get it back on track. Robert Nobles, having had issues earlier on, is actually moving back up through the M2 field for track position, but it's effectively 12th in class.
Well, with those two Porsches taking each other out, we now have a 2-car battle for 5th place. Carter Bennett at the front of it. Alexander Barnes following behind him, close in tow. It looks like they're going to be catching up to the BMW of James Williamson here pretty soon. Let's see how this shakes out there as we see Carter Bennett gets a little bit loose on the exit there. And just a moment ago, we saw that take the lives of 2 Porsches. Ooh, that's really close there. That is Carter Bennett refusing to miss the gap in. James Williamson just trying to drive his lap.
Yeah, I have a feeling I mean, maybe not, but it almost seemed like Carter was going at the last moment there in an effort to use James as a buffer.
Yeah.
But as it was, James decided to stay well out of the way as both Ferraris came through. Now they've got the BMW of Sam Carasala ahead of them, heading onto the main straight. Sam holding it on the paint.
Getting a draft from Phil Brown there. Or excuse me, Alexander Barnes. Oh, as he looks to try to move to the inside there, Carter Bennett shuts it down. And they've caught up to Liam McNeil now coming into turn 2. And they'll get through there no problem. It really is fascinating when you watch the minimum corner speeds of these cars. The GT3s are not getting through those low-speed corners as fast as I'd expect them to compared to the BMWs. It really just comes down to their ability to get away from the corners.
Yeah, that's it. They just much more power.
Yeah.
They can point and shoot out of the corners way quicker and a lot more downforce as well. Carter Bennett getting a little bit squirrely into a couple of the corners there, and instead of using all of the road and more, this time, no. Okay, again, I thought the M2 would slot in between, but I feel like those first few laps, everyone learned a lot of lessons, and now it's all shaking out.
Mm-hmm.
It just needs to happen sometimes, but the car of Bennett getting right out onto the marbles in some instances here, which you want to be careful of, because obviously those discarded bits of rubber do lack adhesion, contrary to what you might think. Pitch getting all the way off track for those two cars. Doesn't want to be anywhere near that. As Barnes really weaving all over the track, trying to look for a way to get through, but some good defensive driving from Carter Bennett.
Ooh, and Alexander Barnes losing the back end there, exiting the corner, is going to give Carter Bennett just a little bit of breathing room as he does the same thing, dips it out into the gravel, almost loses control of that Ferrari. And just like that, Alexander Barnes right back on top of him. I'd really love to go take a look at the battle between 2, 3, and 4 as they're starting to pass some GT4 traffic here, but these two have been putting on quite the show here. I almost don't want to look away.
Indeed, I did just see Lubinora getting a little bit sideways off to the side on another screen. Was able to gather it back up and keep it going.
Go ahead and hop on board here with Alexander Barnes. Why not watch this car battle from inside the car? As they round the final corner and begin their charge down the straight, looked like Carter Bennett gets a little bit unsettled there, and that's letting Alexander Barnes get the run on him. Oh, it's going to be very close into turn 1, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go to the helicam. Oh, almost there, but it's not over yet as they come into turn 2 here.
Carter Bennett just covering off the inside line. They make contact as Carter Bennett has such reduced mid-corner speed there, but the defense works because, yeah, on the main straight, Barnes was in the slipstream, but he had nowhere to go apart from the outside. Got two M2s up ahead now. They're going to fire their way past. That's Matt Damon, I believe. One of the higher placed M2s. Currently sitting third in class.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Xu Chen continues to drive a flawless race, but yeah, Carter Bennett getting a little bit loose, brings it back.
Put this back on last lap. Let's see here. No, that's the fastest lap. There's our last lap for these two drivers. And we see just a slight advantage going to Carter Bennett, or excuse me, Alexander Barnes on that previous lap, but that's going to flip around there. A little bit better of a lap for Carter Bennett as they cross the line. And they're going to be catching up to the BMW of, let's see, that's number 51 car. That's Alex Ardoin in second place. Could be Anthony Jones next on the chopping block. Ooh, he's really trying to get on the inside there. Carter Bennett having to put the foot down a little bit early. Loosens up the back end. But Alexander Barnes sticking with it. Carter Bennett really defending the inside, but Alexander Barnes not waiting any more time to try and get this pass done. He's going to do it on the outside there. Now he's out in front and on the inside, and I think that is going to be the move done by Alexander Barnes. But Carter Bennett is not out of it yet. And they are catching up to Anthony Jones now, too. And this is where things could get dicey.
Alexander Barnes repaying the favor now, covering off the inside line, but they were getting very close to the back of Jones. Bit of a hair-raising moment for Alexander Barnes there, but was able to keep it out of the back of the BMW. They head up the hill, bouncing over the curbs. Does look as though he's able to keep it ahead now, and having made that move, just gets a little bit of breathing space from Carter Bennett. But that was such great defense from Carter Bennett the whole time to keep that position. Barnes looking to take the optimal line now, so slightly different strategy. Yeah.
Let's go ahead and
He's
take
really just going for it.
Yeah, and it does look like Alexander Barnes is starting to pull a little bit of a gap here. If I pull back up the gap times here, he's up to about 1.25 seconds. So let's go ahead and let's check in on Louis Benora and Ice Tin. Currently battling it out for P3. It does look like Mateus Alves has pulled away from them just a little bit. Also of note, we've got Sam Carasala slowly reeling in Liam McNeil.
Yeah, Sam, a very quick driver. Let's see, I'm trying to remember where he qualified in the M2 field, but we know that he has decent pace, and Sam also really enjoys driving slower cars. Has been known to take the Ginetta, as we see a pit stop from Justin Ice here. Now, I wonder if this is going to end up on the honor system. With all drivers, certainly the drivers that have been in ARC for a long time, they know that they have a mandatory pit stop to take. So Easton coming in. It is midway, so I mean there's a very good chance that the drivers had their setups fueled for half race or 2/3 distance, so that's, you know, there's nothing they'll be able to do about that now. So I would hope that we see everyone come in for a pit stop. That's my feeling.
That's kind of how I'm feeling about it too. The official word from race control is that it is not mandatory to take a pit stop, so it really does become, you know, it is optional for the drivers if they decide that a pit stop would be more optimal to their race. Looks like Anthony Jones not hesitating to go ahead and come into the pits. Also got Ice Tin. Brian Katz has served a pit stop, so has Robert Nobles.
And just to confirm it, Sam Carasala was 4th on the grid in the M2 field, so with a 47. It just, I mean, Arduin, Jones and Damon all in the 45s, and then it was a big jump down to the low 47s for the rest of the field, and then they were all kind of covered by a second or two. So yeah, it's interesting pace differential, but also many of the drivers in the 47s. But Sam Carasala, you would imagine, has the legs on Liam McNeil. At the same time, both these cars having to be very careful and playing rearview mirror simulator, as I like to call it.
Huh.
Cody Barrett, I was going to say made a place on Melon Pitch. That's Melon Pitch coming in for his stop.
I believe if I do this, we can see the number of pit stops each of the drivers have served so far. Not quite the same as having the mandatory pit stop thing up there, but it is something we can look at.
Indeed. And yeah, I mean, certainly that's the first time that has happened. These things do happen, but the next race onwards, I would imagine we'll have full mandatory pit stops. Got Sam really pulling up to the back of Liam McNeil now. Follow the BMWs onto the main straight. Sam's going to try and tuck in and get as much slipstream as possible. BM covering off the inside line, sweeps back to the optimal line on the outside to get a good entry into turn 1. Punches it out on the curb.
I'm going to go ahead and put us on board here with Sam. Really is remarkable how much quieter these cars are.
Yeah, they do sound certainly not like a road car, but a lot more tame.
For sure. Well, and here, warning to headphone viewers, your time is now. Here's Shu Chen's on board. A little bit more aggressive of a sound.
Yeah, the Lamborghini with, I believe it's a V10.
Mm-hmm.
And straight cut gears as well. So those two sounds combined make for a very angry bee under the bonnet. I say bonnet.
It's in the middle of the car, close enough. We all know what you meant.
So given that most of I think we don't have a single front engine GT3 on the grid currently, because a lot of the drivers going for some of the new cars available to them. We've got some Huracan GT3 Evo 2s, that's the Lamborghini, the Ferrari 296 GT3, and the Porsche 992 GT3R, which replaces the previous iteration, which was a... Hang on, was it a 911? Was it 911? 999?
I think it's a 992, isn't it? Oh, I should know these things.
The new one is a 992. Anyway.
Okay.
But Jacob Clemens did opt to stick with the Honda NSX. Now, that car did take a little bit of a hit in the updates, so props to him for sticking with the Honda. I think it's a beautiful looking car. It's mean, particularly all in black. It looks very, very good.
I can't disagree with you there. As the proud owner of an all-black kind of sports car, I agree.
So, I mean, I'm just looking at the splits now, and in terms of best laps, just want to make sure that I'm on the race. And I mean, in qualifying, Shu Chen was fastest in every sector. So that really goes to show how, I mean, he had a second on the field, just absolutely stunning. So it would be a surprise if he wasn't able to convert that into a race win today. Sitting a full 26 seconds ahead of the field right now. Matt Byrne, if you're listening, we need you. So I imagine that championship battle will get closer during the season. And just a reminder, the points are linear in this series, so it's basically 1 point per position. And in that sense, I feel a little bit bad for Shu Chen, because he's absolutely running away with this. But he will take maximum points. But what it means is that the championship is anyone's game from start to finish. You cannot have a bad race. So all the more reason to race with Apollo Racing Club here. Got a poor BMW with the three cars coming through in one of the most difficult portions of track. Is able to thread it through there and get to the other side of the circuit in between cars. Again, I do feel as though things have kind of shaken out now. We're not that little spurt of incidents that we saw earlier was an anomaly, as everyone. It was the first time for everybody to get up to speed and start encountering that big pace differential on a track that a lot of drivers are familiar with. So.
Something I just realized, that was Shu Chen lapping 7th place.
Lord, okay. Okay, so Justin Eiston, obviously we saw him come in for the pit stop, which is why that makes sense. That's so
Yeah.
Justin hasn't dropped back by, you know, for a mistake or anything like that. It's just that he came into the pits.
Yep. And if we look at the display there, we can again see the pit stop count. And right now, Ice Tin is the only one out of the top 7 who's done it. With 20 minutes left in the race, though, there may be some late pit stop strategies. You never know.
Yeah, a good number of the drivers do like to pit sort of around the 45-minute mark, getting nearer to the end of the window, because things are more spread out. And then what we often find is that the final 10 minutes of the race get just absolutely hectic, and you and I start to lose our minds. We do get some very good late race battles.
You got to point out, really unfortunate turn of events for the 559 car of Robert Nobles. Gets a drive-through penalty for track limits and then gets a follow-up stop-go 30 for speeding in the pit lane.
That's about as bad as it gets. Yeah, not good for Robert Nobles there. It is not the easiest pit entry in that it's quite a short stop. You don't have much to slow you down. There's no turn. It's kind of a straight shot straight. You can see it there. You're coming straight in off of it's a little chicane. Okay, maybe I misremembered, but there's just that real temptation because you can kind of see the pit line right from the straight to come in as quickly as possible. And one of our perennial
Yeah.
I'm gonna stop talking about that because these M2s are getting real close. We've got the car.
Who was that? It was Eric Gottsacker that just turned across him.
And he went right the way off track there. He's had it towed back to the pits. I don't know if he was in the wall. Gonna have to move on because these M2s are all very close still. Anthony Jones now getting up the inside of Sam Karasala. Liam McNeil acting as the cork in the bottle almost as they look either side of him, having to hang back. Bit of door banging between Jones and Karasala. These two drivers know each other very well. I'm sure they're going to be laughing inside of their non-existent helmets. Yeah, Liam just keeping his composure, and as Jones, as fast as he's been, getting a little bit slidey on the inside curb there, but Jones keeps the place, having moved Sam out of the way. I think all is fair in love and war there.
Oh, for sure. I didn't see anything that was too concerning there. And that's kind of honestly kind of how the BMWs need to be driven. With the GT3s, a minor mistake can have such major consequences, but with these things, you really can kind of afford to do a little training paint and rubbing his racing. So you really do like to see these close battles, especially with Anthony Jones getting ready to send it on Liam McNeil into turn 1. Oh, and there is contact. Oh, yeah, that was a little bit too much contact.
Yeah, Liam turning himself almost. I mean, Anthony was up the inside well ahead of the corner. He's now going to have to get past Sam Karasala again. That Ferrari managing to make its way through on both BMWs. Sam kind of offline there. He had to break down to a lower speed to get his turn in. But yeah, Liam trying to squeeze Jones down to the apex, and Jones had nowhere to go. It's almost like touring car style racing that you get from these, in terms of the bumping and barging, and the fact that we saw Liam just able to take a hit, slide the car, and then keep going, is a testament, because with higher powered cars, it's difficult to keep them from spinning right around. Him going quite wide there in the background.
I want to see the front of his car. It doesn't look like he's got very much damage to the front, so I can't imagine that was understeer.
That was the left side, might just be taking a moment to get the rhythm back.
Yeah.
Robert, ooh. Well, maybe there is some sort of suspension damage. We'll have to see. He doesn't elect to bring it into the pits as Robert Nobles is coming in for a pit stop. That would be his second stop.
Oh, and I just missed something that was pointed out to me in the Discord. Yeah, it looks like Liam McNeil's really struggling to keep that car under control. Maybe there's more damage there than we can see. But update, we do have the race champ for the series champ from last season. Andrew Jaski was in the chat. I totally missed that. Sorry about that, my friend. Looking at the pace of Chen and Louis, Probs could pull a podium, if not a win too, he says. Interesting. Bold words. Although backed up by a man who won the last season, so maybe it's possible. I don't know. Xu Chen's pace is pretty ridiculous. This last lap was a 134. Let's see. He's going to cross the line with a new one now. Let's see what it's going to be slower, I think. No, it's slower than his personal best. 132.3 for Xu Chen, and that is his new best lap. So that's cool.
It's going to be really difficult because to read the lap times, because each lap we're not able to really know whether Xu's coming up against traffic. But again, that's what's going to make his race, is being able to fluidly and calmly, collectedly get past all of these cars that he has to pass.
Let's see here. Looking at the track map, trying to find some pockets of cars getting past here. Looks like I looked down at just the wrong time, but Xu Chen going to get another pass here on the number 51 car of Alex Ardoin. Currently sitting in P1. Anthony Jones slowly making his way back up the grid, but still has quite a bit of work to do until he catches Michael Locke just shy of 10 seconds in front of him. And I think that just might be the pit stop difference. Some drivers just opting not to take the time penalty is, I guess, how it's going to be treated this race. Still 12 minutes left to go. I mean, anybody's could need to dive into the pits for the last 10 minutes of the race. Who knows?
I only just noticed that it was notified, or the drivers were notified, sorry, that the server settings were changed.
Yep.
And so they were aware. Which means probably a lot of drivers. I think Anthony Jones, knowing him, is making this a challenge. We had car number 19 of Nobles off track and has elected to have it towed back. So this is an issue for them.
Yeah, Robert Nobles had a rough time this race. I think that's his 4th trip through the pit stop if you include the penalties. It's a rough way to start the season, but as we were mentioning with the linear scoring, there's going to be plenty of opportunities to make those points back.
Indeed, and even just to stick in this race, as difficult as it is to do sometimes, if you're looking at the long game and you're interested in picking up some spots in the championship, it pays to just keep circulating. It does seem as though since the beginning of the race we have lost a couple of drivers that have disconnected. I believe Jens Stam was one of those. We did see quite a lot of carnage going on for Jan, unfortunately, so yeah, did not bring it to the end.
Brian Katz passing Melon Pitch with a little bit of flair there on the exit. Got the back end just a little bit loose. We're now inside the 10-minute mark. Not a lot of this race left. If we want to go ahead and take a look at the race gaps, looks like the field is spaced out pretty well at this point. Not a lot of battles for position going on. Unfortunately, I think the drivers who opted to take a pit stop are just going to have to take an L on this one.
Yeah, so I was saying that Anthony Jones, I almost feel like he decided to take the stop just for the added challenge. Very humble guy. He's probably not too worried about the getting the top result. He knows he's fast. He knows he could win this race, but wanted to see how far he could make it back up. Carter Bennett in between the two BMWs there, and doing the right thing, kind of getting off the throttle and giving a bit of a stab of the brakes in order to get through the exit and make his turn in. It's that car of Adam Thompson. But oh, we've got a yellow flag for Lou Benora.
Yep, I see that. Trying to get over to it. It must have been minor. Maybe a tap with one of these. Because I don't have an accident marker that would tell me that he'd been in one. So maybe just a little love tap trying to get around those cars on the first try, but it looks like he gets through there on the second one, no problem. Who is that behind Matt Damon there? That's Craig. Craig R in the number 5 BMW there. Leaves it off just a little bit wide, but survives a pass from a faster car. Sometimes you're not always that lucky.
It's nice that for once we are actually able to get a little breather towards the end of the race. And I think so far a lot of the drivers have said that they do enjoy Valencia. It's not difficult to learn, but certainly there are a lot of corners that as you're approaching them, you're just trying to remember, like, is this left-hander or the other left-hander? The corners kind of seem quite similar because there's not so many defining features, but that's part of what makes it a challenge. And obviously, the more laps you do, the more you just get into the rhythm of it. But there are a couple of hot spots that really do make it interesting. Heading up the hill, and this double right-hander actually. First time heading into that corner, if you're not expecting it, it's very easy just to go flying off the track because it's similar to Imola's double right-hander where you kind of need to be braking out in the middle of it. It's not two corners, it's one corner with two apexes.
But there is Shu Chen lapping 6th place now. I believe that is 5th place Phil Brown just up there entering the next corner though. See, yeah, it is. I don't think we'll see him lap the whole field, but that is absurdly impressive.
Just noticing Adam Thompson did go ahead and get his car repaired, so obviously that is easier to drive for him. He's not having to struggle with it.
Well, and he only just bought the DLC about 10 minutes before before practice started, so he's just now learning the track, and I think it's his first time in ACC in quite some time. But props to him for sticking it out. There are 3 other drivers who didn't.
Yeah, and he and James both were last-minute additions, and just I mean, I say last minute, I mean last minute. So for them to get to grips with things this quickly is really impressive. Obviously, we have a number of different leagues. Sorry, a number of different races that we run at ARC in iRacing, Dirt Rally 2. So, as I said earlier in the show, Adam and James both are in the booth usually for the iRacing trucks and ACF1 as well. That's Assetto Corsa Formula 1. All sorts, honestly.
Yeah.
I can't even remember all of the things that we have going on, but basically racing every single live week.
Something I want to draw our eyes over to is, as things tend to do, they tend to bunch up towards the end, and Ice Tin is slowly starting to make up some ground on Jack Lindner for 6th place. Let's see, we've got 3 minutes left on the clock. Let's take a look at their lap times here for that last lap. And a lot of ground made up by Ice Tin, 1.3 seconds. I wonder if that was a bad lap there for Jack Linder, but that was a very, very good lap for Ice Tin. Although it does make sense he'd be faster because he was not always in 7th place. He was in 4th, if I remember correctly. Kind of battling for 3rd.
Yeah, that's it. Just trying to make up a few spots again. It would be, looking at the map, it's a fair old gap to 5th place as they're heading down the main straight. 5th just crossing the line. Ice Tin having come out of the last corner. But I would expect to see Ice Tin going for a move within the next couple of minutes. I mean, yeah, 2 minutes and 10 seconds on the clock. And once that runs down to 0 and the leader crosses the line, if there's 1 second on the clock and the leader crosses the line, there's one more lap. But if there's 0 seconds, that's the race over. I think that's maybe the best way to explain it.
Right. It all depends on when Xu Chen crosses the line. It really does, whether or not they get that additional lap. But Ice Tin is definitely reeling him in.
Yeah, Justin might be praying that they get an extra lap.
If I were him, I certainly would be, because if I'm him, I'm thinking I can get this guy, just give me one more lap. So
yeah, that's it. The less time, I mean, certainly he could possibly do it from back there, but then it starts to become a bit of a desperate last gasp move. If he's got a bit, he's sliding through the corner there, but he might be helped by the M2s that they'll have to thread their way through. I just noticed Anthony Jones make a place up on Michael Locke, so that brings Jones back into 3rd place in the M2 field. So leaders on the last lap.
Yep, took the words right out of my mouth. I was watching that gap get smaller, and then I looked away, and then he had gotten in front of him. So even with the pit stop, Anthony Jones gonna finish in the top 3. Ice Tin, you can see, really trying to find any way around that Ferrari in front of him. Went for the late stab on the brakes there to try and get his nose in. Ends up costing him a bit of time. Got a yellow flag for Cody Barrett, who appears to be spun around. No, he's off in the dirt and almost beached, it looks like. It's now he's just starting to get the car moving again. And is going to rejoin. Looks like he loses a position to Melon Pitch, but that's about it. Speaking of Melon Pitch there.
Melon Pitch.
Yep.
It's very difficult to miss that car.
Any car he drives. Ooh, we got another big yellow flag between Xu Chen and Phil Brown. Oh no.
Shoot. Keep it going. What's going on?
I don't know if he can.
Is it? It can't be fuel. No, no, no. Okay.
He's going. Oh, he was waiting
He's
for Phil
just
Brown.
being smart. Okay. He feels as though he's at fault, and he's got so much time in hand.
Yeah, but he gives him the little blinker there to say, I'm sorry.
Okay.
And he's rounding the final corner now and will finish in first place. A little bit of drama just at the tail end of the race there, just to keep things nice and spicy. There we go, Shu Chen gonna cross the line. Melon Pitch right behind him, gonna do the same thing and spin the car sideways. But let's keep our eye over here on the battle for 5th place, as it is gonna come down to the line and a BMW in the way. It looks like Ice Tin's gonna get his prospective wish here and gets the extra lap around the track. Looks like the two of them getting around Anthony Jones there now. And Jack Linder's actually caught up to Carter Bennett on the final lap. He's now inside of 2 seconds. That is going to be a 4-position car up in front of him there. And it is going to come down to the line for this race for these 3. We'll see if Jack Linder can pull him in any farther. And let's see if Ice Tin can make the move. Looks like he just has about 6 corners left to do so. Not very much time left for him. That Lamborghini is going to be he's going to be trying to push that Lamborghini as hard as he can, with now just 4 turns left. It's very close though. Now 3/10 separate these two, coming into the second to last corner. The big sweeping left hand into the kink. And I don't think he's gonna be able to get it done unless there's a big mistake out of Jack Linder right now. And it looks like that's the order they're gonna finish in. Carter Barrett hangs on to 4th place just by a little bit. It looks like Jack Linder gonna follow behind him, and Ice Tin going to finish in 6th place.
I was worried Carter was going to be celebrating just a bit too soon there, as they were getting so close to the line. That was a big gap that Jack was able to close in right at the end. So all drivers now have come across the line.
And real quick, let's just go through our top finishers there. Shu Chen in 1st place, Mateus Alves in 2nd, Louis Benora in 3rd. In the other field, we lost it. No, hold on. Hold on, I can save this. Timetables, race, there we go. Okay, so in the GT3, here's our finishing grid. Let me get this stuff out of your way there. There we go. All right, so Shu Chen gonna bring home the win, and a very, very strong win at that, lapping the majority of the field. Mateus Alves in 2nd place, Louis Benora in 3rd. That's not Cody Barrett, it's the other Barrett. Carter Barrett, excuse me, finishing in 4th place. Jack Linder in 5th. Ice Tin in P6. P. Brown in P7. Alexander Barnes in P8. Brian Katz in P9. And Eric Gottsacker to round out the top 10 for the GT3s in the TCX class. Alex Ardoin going to bring home the win with a strategy win, with Anthony Jones going for a pit stop. Matt Damon finishing in P2. Anthony Jones finishing in P3, having to go fall all the way back to 7th place and fighting his way back up to a podium finish. Matt Locke here. Am I right? Is M-Lock anyways, finishing in, in P4, Sam Carsala in P5, Liam McNeil in P6, Nathaniel Stewart in P7, Melon Pitch in P8, Cody Barrett in P9, and James Williamson going to round out our top 10 finishers. Let me go ahead and get us over to that. And that is going to do it for our first race here at Valencia. And my goodness, what a race it was, with the exciting start of the GT3 field, to where everybody caught up to one another and there was just carnage for a few laps, and then a couple of races that came all the way down to the very finish there. An exciting race to watch the entire way through. Any final thoughts, Tom?
Oh, I'm looking forward to the next one.
Yeah.
I think now that the drivers have had that experience of mixing up the slower BMW M2s with the GT3s and trying to manage all of that, it did seem as though it all got figured out during the race. I'm just looking at the chat. Everyone's saying that they enjoyed the race. I think in each of driver had some good battles and were able to enjoy that. So bring on, what is the next round?
Oh, that's a great question that I should know the answer to. One moment. Let me hit that pretty quick. Got ACC SimGrid races.
Drum roll. Oh, it's Suzuka.
Yes, it is. Oh boy. That's going to be
Yes.
a very interesting track with this combination of cars.
And yeah, and then we will have pit stops in that race, so that's just gonna add to the drama as things get mixed up even more. Looking forward to it, 100%.
I am too, but that is going to do it for tonight, everyone. Again, congratulations to our race winners. That's going to be Shu Chen and Alex Arduin. Thank you everybody so much for watching. If you liked what you saw, as always, hit that follow button if you haven't liked the video, if you're watching it on YouTube, and you'll get the notifications for when we go live. We're regularly scheduled on Saturday nights. We have shifted it to Monday for the rest of the season, so be on the lookout for that. But aside from that, that's all I've got for tonight. We hope to see everybody next week at Suzuka, but you guys enjoy the rest of your week. We'll see you next week. Have a good one.